Hello everybody, we're back in the shop here tonight with the 1959 Evinrude Fast Twin 18. Tonight we're going to finish up the Magneto. We are going to put the mag plate back on, and then we'll put the points on, reset the timing, or set the timing, since these have never been on before, and put the condensers on, hook everything up, test for spark, and if the spark is good we'll put the new terminals on and put spark plugs in it, and we'll have the ignition done once we get the flywheel on. So first thing I did was I've already put some triple guard grease on the top of this brass ring. That's the bearing surface for the pivot. That's where the mag plate slides, and on the inside of the mag plate itself I've also lubricated this in here with some more triple guard grease. Just a light coating, it doesn't take a lot. You don't want to overdo it and have it everywhere, but you want enough in there to do the job to lubricate it. Make sure the throttle arm is swung out of the way. Take the plug wires, route those behind the starter bracket and behind the fuel filter. Take the kill wires, and those go through the hole over here in the bracket for the other side of the silencer. And I've got this points cam rotated so the high side is to the right because the oiler wick is on the left, and that makes it easier to install. You use a screwdriver to hold it back when you set that down. That helps too. Now when I set this down I kind of made sure that the screw holes in the pivot plate underneath that support ring were close to the four screws that hold it down. Sometimes these fall right in, and other times they take a little bit of moving around to get them to go. There it went. Another thing to watch when you put these down is to make sure that this throttle roller is not hung up underneath the throttle cam. That's pretty easy to do. I still accidentally do it from time to time. And we're going to leave these a little bit loose. Just bring them down close to the coil laminations. Because when we set the ring gap, we're going to want to be able to move that. So this ring gap is set so that the shoe is even with this machine surface down here. I don't know if you can see that. Let me zoom in a little bit. So this machine surface should be even with the outside of this curved surface of this lamination. You can eyeball it, look alongside and make sure that it's lined up, and then kind of feel it with your finger. Or there's also a tool for that, which I have, that takes all the guesswork out, and it's this locating ring. So we push the coils in and set this ring down over the outside of the coils. Push it all the way down to where it seats on the shoulders of those machine surfaces. And then pull the coil out to that ring and snug up the screws. Might as well tighten all three of those. And then same thing with the other side. I'm just going to push on this one from over here. First one. Second one. Third one. Now we can remove the ring. Sometimes you have to gently pry it up a little bit. Alright. That properly sets the air gap between the magnet on the flywheel and the shoes on the coil. These wires, you need to make sure those are out of the way. They need to be inside of this rounded profile in the back of the lambs, because if they're not, the rotating flywheel hub will wear the insulation off, and then you can wear the wire clean in two with that thing if it's not out of the way. And the green wire on the bottom, you gotta kind of make sure it's out of the way too. That connects to the points when we get those on there. Just push it back a little bit so it doesn't get out and rub on anything. Run the plug wires through. I guess I'm probably still zoomed in. Alright. Run the plug wires through this loop here where they go on the cylinder head. Swing this throttle arm around, reconnect that, set this on top of that little post. We got to retrieve our clip. The clip goes on like that and just keeps it from coming off. Now we have our throttle control back. We want to get these spark plug wires where they're moving smoothly and not stretching too tight. That looks pretty good. Now, the next thing we want to check, this is kind of easier to do without all this stuff on here, but it can still be done if you've got the right wrench. We want to make sure and this is going to be challenging to see. Let me try to move this around to the other side. I've done another video on this too, so if this one doesn't turn out, you can kind of check that one out. But let's see. I'll take a look, make sure everything's in frame here. Okay, that's the best I can do right now. At any rate, there's a hash mark on this cam, and when you advance the throttle, it pushes against the roller and it starts to move the throttle linkage. What you want to do, this, as I showed earlier on one of the earlier videos when I was taking the stuff off of this mag plate, this cam moves in and out. So you can synchronize the throttle position with the spark position, the advanced spark advance position. So what you want is this mark on the cam to be right on center of the roller, right where the pin comes through, at the very moment that the arm on the throttle down here actually starts to move. All the slack should be taken out of it at that instant. And I've got the throttle's coming in just a little bit too early, so I'm going to push it in just a little bit. As I said before on the previous video, I left this loose enough to be able to adjust it. Still coming in just a little early. Almost perfect. Pushing against the plug wires. There it is. Perfect right there. So, you got to get a 5/16 wrench. And I'll move this, try to get this in a position where I can reach the screw in the back. Not easy to get to that thing, but it can be done. Okay, so that's tightened up. Next thing we're going to do is put the points on. So we got to grab our tune-up kit. Again, open that up. I'll put the condensers back in there. And I'll zoom this back out so you can see what I'm doing. Give myself a little room at the bench, so I'm going to move the motor again. So we take the points out of the box, and in there we have the fixed side, the moving side, the oiler wick, which we use the other one on this motor, the clip that holds the points together, and the clip that retains the point set to the plate. I'm going to take both sets of points out so I don't have to fish around for them when I get going here. And even though these points are new, I still clean the surfaces of the points with acetone before I mount them. If there's any oil or anything left on them, that tends to increase the resistance. It doesn't run as well and they can burn up faster. So take my solvent rag. Try to use a clean cloth with as little lint as possible. And wipe that contact. Same with the fixed side. Looks good. Do the other set while I've got the rag is still damp with solvent. Once we get these clean, we want to make sure we don't touch them and get the oil from our hands on there. Okay. I'm going to assemble the first set of points. Take the little clip, click it on there. Looks like I touched the points like I just said not to. So I'm going to get my rag again and wipe that off. Clean again, good. Take the moving half. Kind of compress the spring, slide the spring underneath between the clip on the bottom side of the fixed, and there we go. First set of points together. We'll take and put this over the post and then click them down on there. Now we're going to do the same thing with the other set. Clips out. You can leave this oiler wick in the bag till I need it for another motor, because you get an oiler wick with each set of points in the tune-up kit, so you end up with a spare one. Clip does not want to come out of there. Okay, put those little guys where you don't want it, because you don't want to lose those. You had some, or you should have had some that you took off. The ones that I took off of this one were kind of bent, so I'm going to use the new ones. Put the next set of points together. Clip. Slide those together just like we did the others. Come around to the other side. Same thing. Slide this over the post. Push it down. Now we get the retaining screws, the ones with the little wave washers. I got a wire under there. There we go. And the screw with the wave washer goes in the kind of slotted hole, and I tighten these up right now. Some guys leave them loose. You could still move them just fine with the adjustment screw when they're tight, and For me, if you adjust them with these retaining screws tight, there's less chance of them moving when you go back and try to tighten this up if you don't have it tight to begin with. So I tighten them up right away. Now we'll take our pliers. This takes for me anyway, it takes a needle nose. You know, grab the clip by the back end. This usually works better without my glove on. I'll push that in the groove there and then hold it and finish pushing it on with the end of the pliers. I can't tell you how many of these things I've lost putting them on and taking them off. I've done a bunch of them now and I'm got a lot better with them, but that one just snapped right on there. So that's why it's so nice to have spares. Alright, I don't need my gloves now. Now we're going to set the timing. Now there's two ways to do this. Well, there's more than two. You can, some of the flywheels have marks on them and you can use a test light. There are marks on the Magneto plate here, timing marks, and I have the timing tool. These are available still if you want to buy one. I bought this one from Frank Robb. He used to make these. He's a member of OMC. Same with the locating ring for the coils. He has since stopped making these, but Richard White, another member, has taken over, and they can be purchased from him. It's a wonderful tool if you do a lot of these things. It just saves so much time. I find it to be a lot easier and quicker than the feeler gauges. You can do the feeler gauge method. You set the rubbing block on the points at the high spot on the cam, which is right near the keyway and where it says top. That's about the highest point on the cam. Set it there, and then with the 20 thousandths feeler gauge, put it in between the 2 point contacts and till you have just a slight amount of resistance there, and leave it. This actually makes sure that your points are breaking when they're supposed to in relationship to the magnet and the flywheel, and that they're 180 degrees apart. So your run quality and your idle quality are the best when that is done, and this tool makes that so much easier. So to do that, I use my multimeter in the beeper setting. You can use it in the resistance also, but the beeper's easier for me, at least when I can hear it, if I don't have a lot of noise going on. All the wires unhooked from the points. This is the bottom set of points. This is the top mark. This is the bottom mark. So I'm on this side. I'm going to start with the bottom. I'm going to run this all the way to the stop. I'm going to take the bottom timing mark and put it directly between the marks. Let's see if you can see that. There's two little timing marks here. The pointer should be directly between those. And then hook up the two leads to the points and the mag plate. And with a straight screwdriver, I've obviously got a continuity issue here. Okay. Yep, now we're good. Okay, the beeper's going. I'm going to cam this point set out. It's supposed to be all the way against the... I want to turn this screw until it stops beeping. It's still not quite where I want it. It's a little bit early. Still a little bit early. Close them just a little. Perfect. So, right there, when it stopped beeping, is right in between the two marks. So now I'm going to go around to the other one, the other set of points, and do the same thing. I'm going to rotate this guy around so that it's closer to this side. Put the pointer between. Positive lead, negative lead. A little bit early. Still slightly early. A little late. Perfect. Okay. Pull the leads off. Take the tool off. Ready to mount the condensers. So these go on just like the old ones came off. The screw with the little tooth washer should hold these on. Go ahead and tighten that up. Alright. Now we're going to connect all the wires. So we take our small screw that came out of the old points, pass through the condenser, the coil wire, and the kill wire. You got to kind of bend these wires out of the way. You want to make sure that you don't have any bare connectors or anything touching anything metal on the mag plate, so it'll ground itself out.